What is going on, everybody? We are back. Episode 152, ABJ Presents Tornado Tag Podcast. We are doing the movie Body Slam review. So we've already done Iron Claw. We're now doing Body Slam. So more wrestling movies to come, or maybe movies that have wrestlers in it. You know, it's just a little segment we're adding to the show here every now and then. You know, we have our show reviews. We'll review, old school shows or maybe some independent shows. We do some What If Now series where we go back in time and rebook some wrestling history. T-shirts are now available. Go ahead over to T Public and T Public for the brand new What If shirts, tornado tag style. What are we doing, Kat?
I think it's very safe to say that the Iron Claw is still the best movie we've reviewed.
Yes,
Body Slam, not quite the caliber of the Iron Claw.
Yeah, I would totally agree there. But let's get real quick. Links below to follow us on all social media. You could follow myself everywhere below. Buy that merchandise we were just talking about. If you want to support the channel, we do take super chats and donations over on YouTube. Links below for that as well. If you're not watching on YouTube, audio side of things, we're on all major podcast platforms. Help us out with a 5-star content. We just had an episode with Miss Misfit on the podcast, episode 150. Then Alex and Eric Viking from Pro Wrestling Explosion and High Tension Network were just on. And then tomorrow I'll be back with a Bride of Chucky review with Dante James. On Thursday, we'll have Sonny DeFarge back for Terminator 3. We've made it through 3 Terminator movies. And then we'll be back on Sunday with our bio of Abdullah the Butcher. So that's going to be really fun.
Very storied career. That's one you could do like a whole series on Abby.
Yeah. We could talk about him getting electrocuted in the chair.
Horrible.
But yeah, so we're gonna do this a little different. So if you have seen our Iron Claw episode, we kind of went on a scene by scene breakdown. We're doing a little different. So on the Not Cool in High School side of things, where we do our movie reviews or Not Cool in High School horror, we changed it up a little bit because the scene by scene breakdown was just not a lot of fun as to make content with. So I found a different format. We're going to try it here for the first time and see how you guys like it, to see if this is something more for you. And maybe we can adopt this when it comes to doing show reviews. Maybe we could take the same blueprint and then just insert the show review stuff. You know what I mean? Instead of going match by match by match, or we can just kind of say, like, what were 3 matches for you that stood out, and what were some things that were good and what things were bad? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. But well, let's get right into the beginning here. Brian, why did we pick this movie? And is it something normally you consume? And is this one of your favorite style or genres of movies?
Well, I don't think there are enough wrestling movies to count it as a genre, but it's definitely something I have had a lot of background. I don't think I've seen every wrestling movie, but I've seen quite a few of them. Even some of the more obscure ones from back then, like Bad Guys was another, was one that was fairly similar to this. No Holds Barred, obviously. No Holds Barred, I believe, was the first movie I saw in the movie theater. But Body Slam, Body Slam was a movie that would come on a lot on like the Movie Channel or Showtime back in the day. Or things like that, and it was just wound up being one of those movies because when I was a kid, anything wrestling related, if anything wrestling related was on, I had to be there. I wasn't going to not watch it. But this was one of those movies I just saw over and over again. I think I rented it once or twice on VHS, and it was one of those movies. Like another one for me was the movie UHF, the Weird Al Yankovic movie that I just watched over and over and over again whenever I could when I was a kid.
Yeah. So kind of, you're saying anything wrestling you consumed of, big things happen in wrestling. We'll kind of, before we get into the movie here, we'll still have a little bit of banter of what's going on in wrestling. So yesterday was what?
Money in the Bank.
Yeah. Right now, NXT Heatwave is going on, but kind of some big wrestling stuff. Are you into the wrestling sneaker stuff? I know some wrestlers are getting some sneaker deals. Any of that pique your interest?
I haven't really followed the sneaker stuff.
So as a kid, I've always wanted like wrestling shoes. I've never had a pair of wrestling shoes. I think Hogan had a pair back in the day, but I've never really like owned a pair of wrestling sneakers. The Young Bucks ones are at a point now where they're kind of out of my reach when it comes to being able to get them. Probably I did find a website that are selling them for $50 more than what their asking price is, which is not terrible because they're 150 markup. 150 and I can get them for 200, but I did able to snag these bad boys. I I got the Dark Order Brody Lee.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So it has the stitching on the tongue of like his jackets when he was the Exalted One. It has the Dark Order on the on the on the tongue. Nothing really on the side. It's like a velvet shoe, and then the back is kind of that purple. I'm getting there. It has the purple with the almost like his jacket had that little gold trim on it, and then on the other side of the shoe, it does have the heart Brody on it. The bottom, really nothing going on except some purple and black. And then in the inside of the one shoe is actually, it's hard to see, but Brody's in the one shoe. And
then I
on
would
the
feel like
other
I'm stepping on Brody Lee every time I walk.
Yeah, and then this other side says the Exalted One. His name, the Exalted One. Oh, there you go. There you go. Lily with the light. And then it has, I'm not 100% sure the 93 Maple Leaf. I know he was a fan of a player from the Maple Leafs. I think that was his favorite hockey player. I don't know that hockey player's name, so that's my fault. But on the inside, it's a great quote. I love this quote from Brody. Professional wrestling is a beautiful yet cruel mistress. She will treat you well and treat you horribly. But outside of my family, it's my one and only true love, Brody Lee. So I really like them. They come with white laces with the gold trim, and they also come with purple laces. So if you wanted to flip up the laces, these will only be my wrestling day shoes. So when I go to wrestling shows, I will have these on as like a tribute. But besides that, they are on the shelf right up there.
Doug Gilmour, by the way. Doug Gilmour was number 93.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so I did snag my first pair of wrestling shoes. Couldn't have been a better one. I am a big fan of Brody Lee. I mean, you could even go back to the old Tornado Tag days when they kind of broke up the Wyatt family. I was like, man, my favorite member of that team was Luke Harper. And then we got to see him live, and I seen him as the IC champion. Love that dude, and it sucks we lost him. But anything else wrestling-wise you want to kind of talk about before we get into the movie review?
Kind of breaking news from the NXT pay-per-view or premium live event, excuse me. A brand new NXT champion. Trick Williams has lost the NXT title
already.
Yeah, to Ethan Page. Ethan Page is your new NXT champion.
I did say Ethan Page will be a champion very soon, but it's crazy that Trick had a very short run.
It could be a win it back situation. I believe it was. I just checked the results, but I believe it was a 4-way. There might have been a situation where Trick didn't lose the mat, like get pinned. There's always way to that, but yeah, that was a very short reign.
Yeah. Also, not really wrestling content wise, but I kind of talked in the chat, and I went and revamped my server a little bit, and then added a ton of songs to ABJ's playlist. So yes, I am doing a thing with my Discord community. If you would like to participate with it as well, and you don't have a Discord, you can also DM me, and I'll send you the link to do it as well. But I'm doing a music challenge. I kind of got it from the boys over at Opinion City Podcast, or not Opinion City Podcast, Welcome Back Podcast. Mario Millie from the Welcome Back Podcast was doing this thing where he was doing a review of a different genre of music for a month, and you only listen to that genre, and then you try to find things you've never heard of before, or maybe try different subgenres, or just see if that music genre is for you. So the entirety of this month, I've been listening nothing but metal music, all different sites of metal music. It's been a journey so far. It's been a lot of fun. But yeah, that's pretty much.
So are you going to be listening to Kick? Is the question? Are you going to be listening to Kick?
I might throw some Kick on the playlist.
Yeah.
Not
Kick,
a real band,
Kick.
right?
No, I don't believe so.
No. I love how they, even when they're not performing, they still carry on their instruments.
Yeah. Well, you have to. How else are you going to know they're musicians unless they carry instruments with them wherever they go?
Yeah, definitely. All right, so let's get back into it. When it comes to the movie, so you said this one holds a soft place in your heart.
Yeah, and I know it's a bad movie. Spoiler: it's a bad movie, but it's my bad movie. Okay.
Yeah. I lost my place here. So give us a brief little synopsis history lesson of this movie.
So this movie came about because of the rock and wrestling connection, the rock and wrestling run of the 80s. And Roddy Piper, I think this is, I don't know if this is pre or post They Live. I'm not sure exactly when They Live came out, but this is kind of a cash-in attempt on the wrestling boom. So I believe it came out in 1986, or at least it was filmed in 1986. So around the time of WrestleMania 2, a little after WrestleMania 2. And it never really had a theatrical release. There was a lot of controversy with this movie behind the scenes. The idea for the movie, the script was written by 2 lawyers, and I forget their names, but they were the people who kind of came up with the whole thing. And the director for this movie was a guy named Hal Needham. Hal Needham had a big background as a stuntman, and he was also a very, very good friend of Burt Reynolds. So he lived on Burt Reynolds' property, like he had a house on Burt Reynolds' property.
I feel like this lead role could have went to Burt Reynolds.
It possibly could have. Probably couldn't afford Burt Reynolds at this point. They probably couldn't afford him. And so Hal Needham, he started as Burt stuntman, but then he wound up directing Smokey and the Bandit. He directed Cannonball Run and a few other movies. And I think he was the one that wanted Dirk Benedict, who plays our lead character here, M. Harry Smilac. But during the movie, I guess the writers, the 2 lawyers who wrote the movie, and I guess they were producers as well, were very unhappy with a lot of the changes that were taking place. So basically, if you don't know a lot about how movies work, the writer is kind of, unless they're also directing or unless they have a producer credit or something like that, they don't have a lot of power on what happens in the movie. The director is considered the author of the movie, and a lot of directors and even actors will change things around. And a lot of things were, believe it or not, improved, they say, by impromptu rewrites, reimaginings by Hal Needham and Dirk Benedict. And this caused a lot of arguing. And I think Dirk Benedict even physically went after one of the guys at one point. And there was a lot of legal stuff, and the legal wrangling kept the movie from being released theatrically. Orion Pictures there was so much time tied up in the courts that Orion Pictures just released it straight to video.
Yeah. So I do have, it was released in September 10th, 1986.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this movie predates to me by a couple months.
So it's in between WrestleMania 2 and WrestleMania 3 is where we're at.
But you would think, you put wrestlers in a movie. I wonder how many That's Not Gonna Work for Me brothers were put in this movie.
Well, there's a fun story, and I'm sure you're going to get to it, of what happened when they were filming the ending sequence. But just to give the very quick overview of the movie, basically, Dirk Benedict, who was the original Starbuck on the original Battlestar Galactica, he was face on the A-Team with Mr. T. He is M. Harry Smilac, who is a music manager. He manages people in the music business, and he was a big, hot commodity as far as management. The opening scene sets up with a little exposition. His acts were winning Grammys. He was the talk of the town, but he's fallen on some hard times. He's being sued. He was being sued by a Korean savings and loan company that provides a very, very poorly aged ethnic stereotype throughout the movie, and his lawyer got him off on a technicality. But basically, he's trying to get things together by setting up booking bands for this fundraiser for a guy running for Senate. And he winds up meeting Rick Roberts, who's played by Roddy Piper. And long story short, we're not going to go over the whole plot of the movie.
Yeah.
He winds up unwittingly becoming a wrestling manager. And through
it's kind of wild how I started with local music and then ended up in professional wrestling. Yeah. I think if I ever do get a gimmick name that's not ABJ, it's just going to be Anthony Smilac.
There you go. Yeah. Anthony Smilac. I don't know if that's a skin disorder or disease.
Yeah, good line. That was a good line. Captain Lou is so good.
Well, he didn't have to exactly stretch.
Yeah,
he's
Did I show you I won a Captain Lou action figure?
Yes, you did. You did.
I did, from a political guy. This all ties in. You know what I mean?
It does, yeah. it's all in sequence. So yeah. Captain Lou Albano has the acting stretch of playing Captain Lou Morano, who is basically Captain Lou Albano.
First off, how dare you? He was Super Mario as well.
Well, that was after this, yes.
Yeah. Guy can act. The guy can act.
He's got range.
You ever see the clip where it's at the Super Mario Brothers, and they don't know if it's like just bad audio or if he actually says it? But in the one scene, Luigi goes, "Mario, you got a little linguini on your shirt," and he goes, "Go fuck yourself, Luigi." But I don't know if he actually says it or if it was like a behind the scenes thing. But it's hilarious.
There is a really, and I think it was on in Philadelphia. There's an anti-drug PSA that
Oh
Lou
yeah.
Albano does in the Mario getup, and he's at the end. He's like, "This is Captain Lou Albano telling you don't do drugs." He's just like, drugs are evil, drugs will ruin you. And at the end, he's like, "And if you do drugs, you go to hell before you die." I'm like, geez, Lou, settle down,
As he's
settle
on
down.
coke.
Oh, I don't know if he was doing a lot of coke. He was a notorious drinker. He was,
Yeah.
he had a saying that the captain drinks a little all the time.
Yeah. Did you ever meet the captain?
I never met Captain Lou Albano.
I did. I met Captain. So the place where I don't know if PPW ran there before, but it's the like the Hazleton Farmers Market. They did that one, like the one guy runs it every year. It's like a tax income show. I think did we go together for it?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, but they ran a show there every now and then, and it's like this place. It's like a little farmers market in Hazleton, and I went there, and that's where I met Jimmy Snuka. He was there that night. I think Nikolai Volkov was there and Captain Lou Albano. And I just remember like meeting Captain and seeing the thing in his cheek. I was like, oh, that's my guy right there. I always loved Captain.
Very, very cool. And that's where a lot of the wrestler cameos begin too, because Captain Lou and Smilek have a confrontation in front of the building where Smilek becomes Roddy Piper's manager, and he has this bald guy in a tracksuit who's like as heavy that breaks Smilek's cigar, and that is another veteran wrestler, Alexei Smirnov. And then we find out that not only is Harry going to manage Roddy Piper, but he's going to manage, or Quick Rick Roberts, excuse me, but he's going to manage Tonga Tom. Tonga Tom, the bloodline, shows up in this. So Tonga Tom is played by the Tonga Kid, twin brother of Rikishi, and the father of Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
To make it a little topical. But yeah, so yeah, don't want to get too far into the movie. Let's just we can just run through some of the cameos here, some of the wrestler appearances.
Yeah.
The Cannibals, who are the evil tag team, the captain's evil tag team, who are very much not the Road Warriors here.
Yeah,
they're played by T.Joe Khan, who had a cup of coffee and not a cup of coffee. He was in Crockett for a while. Never really had a WWF run. He was in the AWA for quite a while. He is one of them. I believe he's Hammer, and then there's Axe, who is the Barbarian. And this is, I believe, shortly before the Barbarian and the Warlord got together as the Powers of Pain, which was also kind of the Road Warriors without being the Road Warriors.
Yeah. We can't afford the Road Warriors, and Legion of Doom is probably. I mean, and Demolition is suing us probably. And
Demolition, I don't think existed at this point. If they did,
they haven't even ripped them off the Demolition yet. Yeah,
yeah, you could have, I guess, gotten the Road Warriors, but they got Axe and Hammer instead. And then the other cameos are Afa and Sika, the Wild Samoans. We
just lost one of those just recently.
Sika did just recently pass, the father of Roman Reigns, of course. And so they are the henchmen for the Korean loan shark. Who
I got a fan put on me. I was dying over here. I was like, oh my god.
It's been a hot one. So the Korean loan shark he lost the lawsuit on a technicality, but he keeps breaking whatever car Harry Smilek happens to be driving. This guy sends the Wild Samoans to destroy it. And then outside of wrestling, there are some people here that are very famous. So you have some people who weren't really big name stars per se, but they have a lot of people in this movie who you would know. One of them is Sheldon, who's Harry's lawyer. You might recognize his voice more than his face. Well, for one thing, he was the longest running president of the Screen Actors Guild. He was president of the Screen Actors Guild for about 7 years. But he was also the original voice of Donatello on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There is a car salesman who Harry winds up ripping off, conning out of a car by saying he has Bruce Springsteen tickets and he's got to go pick up their dates at the airport. And the guy who plays the car salesman is John Astin, who was Gomez Addams in the Addams Family, and he is also the father of Sean Astin, who's been in a million things. He was Rudy. He was one of the Hobbits and the Lord of the Rings.
Probably most recently, big thing, Stranger Things. He was in Stranger Things for
that's right,
2 seasons. Yeah. Spoiler alert: doesn't last very long.
And then the other and now I can't think of her name. Kelly Martin. Kelly Martin is Roddy Piper's niece in the movie, Missy. And she would go on to play, she was on ER for a while, but before that, she was Becca on the show Life Goes On.
It's Kai saying in the chat, Rio fractured her arm last night in an AEW return, so that's unfortunate. I didn't watch Collision. Did she win the match?
I did not watch Collision either.
I hope she didn't. I mean, not saying hope she didn't win, but if she won and then realized she had a fractured arm after that, that complicates things. But I think it was Rio versus Mariah May. So I don't think
I'm betting
Mariah May was going to lose. I think this whole tournament's based for Mariah May. So we're probably getting she did win.
Oh, wow.
Whoops. Oh, yeah. So Riho would be, I think it was Riho versus somebody, and then the winner of that went on to Mariah May.
Well, you could always just have the other person. I doubt Rio
all up and have Britt Baker.
I doubt Rio was going to win the whole thing.
Yeah,
I have a feeling Mariah May is going to win the whole thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that too. Even though I think it should be Willow, but that's just me being biased because I'm a huge Willow fan. But yeah, all right. So, what were your first expectations of this movie?
I think I first saw this movie when I was like 6, so I didn't really have a whole lot. I knew what I was getting into in this movie.
Yeah, so I am definitely, I came into this with the mindset it's a wrestling movie from the 80s. So my expectations were not high. I've never seen this movie until recently, until today. And then, so for the most part, I came in prepared it was going to be pretty much trash.
Yeah, it's very much a bad movie.
So I have from 3 to 5. I don't know how many you can pick out of it, but what are some of your favorite things? We'll bounce back and forth. Favorite things in this movie.
So I do think that
spoiler alert for Body Slam if you haven't seen it since 1980.
It's and if you do want to see it, it is on Tubi TV. You can watch it for free on Tubi TV.
How do you feel about commercials when you watch it like that?
Well, I didn't have to watch it like that. I have it on Blu-ray.
Oh
yeah. So
yeah,
big spender. I spent a whole $12 on that thing.
$12?
I think so. Again, it's a movie that's very close to my heart. Even though it's a very bad movie. So one thing I do think that, and this is going to be a backhanded compliment, I do think that Dirk Benedict does a good job as the lead here. And
I agree.
And it helps that he has the only character that really has an arc here. He's the only character that changes and learns and grows, and that I think Smilac was for a movie this bad, he was a standout character because he actually had some growth and range, and I think Dirk Benedict did a very good job in the role.
Piper wasn't terrible.
He wasn't terrible, but I think when you think of how dynamic Roddy Piper can be, the character is just kind of a very generic baby face character, which
it doesn't really showcase it. You're not seeing like Lord Frogtown Piper. You're not seeing They Live Piper. Like he's getting his ass kicked for a lot of this movie.
Right. He's got great presence because he's Roddy Piper, and he, of course, he's going to have great presence, but it didn't feel like a very Roddy Piper character, but Piper was fine. The character was just a little, like pretty much any character but Smilac in this movie, was very one note.
Yeah. Tonga wasn't terrible either.
No. Tonga Kid did very well.
A lot of Superfly references.
Yeah. Well, they were doing a lot of that back then. So one of the Pacific Islander wrestlers who was around at that point was CV Offie. And they just basically, when Snuka had to go away after some things happened,
you're up, Tonga.
No, they made this CV Offie guy was basically for a minute Superfly CV Offie. They just kind of like, oh, you're gonna be the Superfly now.
Yeah, you're the new Superfly.
So yeah, no, Tonga Kid comes into, at this point, I think he was either on his way to WWF or was already there, and he started as the Tonga Kid, which is what he was mainly known as through wrestling. He was also then Tama. He winds up teaming with Haku as the Islanders, and Haku was wrestling as King Tonga, so they just changed him over to Haku at that point. And Tama, that's where that Tama Tonga name comes from, because the Tonga Kid winds up becoming Tama.
Mm-hmm.
And then later he would go to WCW to be part of a trio with the Samoan SWAT team, who would wind up being the head shrinkers, Fatu and Samu, as the Samoan Savage.
Yes.
Yes.
Tonga Kid is the twin brother of Kishi. Yeah, Rikishi.
Yep. Sam Fatu.
Yeah.
So he's the uncle of the Usos, the uncle of Solo Sikoa, the father of Jacob Fatu.
Yeah. What do we think of his kid's debut?
Oh, Jacob Fatu is a star. Jacob Fatu there is a lot of potential with that guy.
My only fear is though, is if Vince was in charge, I think Vince would try to rein him in more, because obviously they want Solo to be the guy.
Right.
But he's so charismatic and so likable, because people just he's playing the big brute like villain, but everyone knows him from the indie scene, and they know how lovable he is and how much he captivates you. He falls into the Eddie Kingston thing too, where he's so real outside of pro wrestling, and he's just attached. You attach to him. I honestly think if the more screen time he gets, I think within 2 years he'll be one of the top stars in the company.
Yeah, he has
like
unlimited
probably
potential.
Bigger than Roman and Cody if you give him enough time.
I don't know about that,
dude. I think his charismatic and the way he connects with an audience is so second to none. He's so good, man.
He's very good. I think he definitely does run the risk of outshining Solo, but Roman and Cody have like a certain something that, and I don't think like the indie scene is so small. I don't think people are really gonna care too much about how Jacob Fatu was perceived on the indies, but they are doing a very, very good job of just basically like the bloodline's crazy, but this guy is extra crazy. Like this guy, you really have to watch out.
Yeah. How about the low blow? Did you see the low blow spot?
If I did it and commit it to memory.
Oh, so what's his name has one of the Tongas are in a pile driver situation or a face buster, and the other Tong comes up behind Kevin Owens to give him a low blow. But when he comes up to the low blow, he punches his brother dead in the face.
Well, Samoans legendarily
legendarily
hard-headed. Hard-headed.
Yeah, it was wild. But yeah, so favorite things. We'll pick a second one. We kind of talked about the acting of the movie, some people who stood out for us. We'll kind of clump that together for both of us.
It's maybe not. Maybe the ads made this a little less for you, but it's an easy watch. I always think this movie is an easy watch. It moves pretty well. It's paced pretty well. So and I don't think it's that long. I think the runtime's like an hour and a half. So it's not a slag to get through. Like for a movie that's not particularly good, it's never really painful to get through because it's paced very well. It's a brisk movie.
Yeah. I'll add, for me, I thought it was fun to see the wrestlers and stuff. The wrestling in the movie wasn't terrible. Like it was flashy. You had the brawling style of Piper, which was fun, but not as much as the the fact of it wasn't Piper. It didn't feel like you were watching a Piper match. But there's no. I thought the wrestling shined was Tonga Kid. Like Tonga Kid being high flying, like the dive spot he does to the outside where they pull the rope down on him and he does like that huge dive. It looks like he dove into the crowd. Like he committed to that dive. Like he definitely probably landed on a crash pad, but of course, he fucking flew. like he's like when it came to the physical aspect of the wrestling, he stood out in the movie.
100%. And I think another thing that I would put in the positives column for this movie is it really treats wrestling with a surprising amount of respect. Wrestling is never looked down upon. It's never looked at as a joke. It lives in a world where it's kayfabe. Like this is all real.
There's no breaking a kayfabe here.
Nope. To the degree where I guess the wrestlers, when they were shooting the final scene, the big match at the end of the movie, obviously when you're doing a movie, you have to do a bunch of different takes, a bunch of different angles. It was like a long shoot. And they basically got the sense, the wrestlers involved got the sense like, hey, the crowd is not taking this seriously. They're thinking everything's phony. So Piper, Tonga, T.J. Khan, and the Barbarian worked a fight, like a real fight during the shooting. And like Hal Needham, the director's jumping in. he's a smaller guy, but he's a crazy stunt man. So he's going to jump in and try to fight it, like try to break it up. Like and they worked everybody. Like it was just those 4 guys going, you know what? I think we need to make people believe this is real again. So they start fighting, and then the wrestlers that were there just to be crowd extras, Bruno Sammartino, Ric Flair, Sheik Adnan Al-Kaisi, they all
Classy.
jump in. Classy Freddie
Classy.
Bless. I don't
They
think
all
Blassie
protected the
jumped in.
business.
But
He
I
was
think it
hitting people with the cane. He was swinging it.
You pencil neck geeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but I think it was mainly Flair and Bruno and Adnan jumped in and kind of broke it up. And I guess Dirk Benedict goes in later and he's saying that, you know, is everybody okay? Like, you know, it got a little crazy there. And Piper had to smarten him up, because I guess like Dirk Benedict, at least he's claimed in following years that that's how he found out like the wrestling was worked, was because like Piper's like, no, we staged that fight. And that was like
color. We got some color at one point in the movie.
Yeah, they did do they did get color. I'm guessing maybe they ran the razor, but I don't know if you would do that in a movie. I think they're
it didn't look like it was like it didn't keep coming, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it was just movie magic. I don't think they're really gonna blade on a movie set.
Yeah,
especially because again you have to do so many takes and all that.
Do you have any more favorite parts, or do you want to move on to the negatives here?
I think that's good for the positives.
All right, I'll kick off the negatives.
All right.
Does not age well. There's some things in this movie.
No.
There's some homophobia. There's some possible transphobia. There's some very big racist tones. It's very 80s wrestling, we'll say.
Yeah. So we already kind of touched on the very caricature like Korean loan shark guy.
Yeah.
Who his accent is played for comedic effect.
And every time he hits a screen in 80s fashion, they gong it.
Yes, yeah, they literally play a gong when he's walking on the screen.
It's like literally 16 candles every time Long Duck Dong's on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Dong. Like, yikes.
So, yeah, there's that, and there is, just the literally. I watched the trailer for this movie, and one of the jokes they put in the trailer for the movie, literally in the trailer, is Smilac not understanding that he said collections because of his accent.
Oh,
and that is literally in the trailer for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that didn't age well, and yeah, there's definitely some language, some words that will not be used on this show. The
F word that doesn't end in UCK.
Yeah. So we didn't really talk about, and I forget his character name, but we didn't talk about Tim McCluskey, who is played by a great character actor, Billy Barty. Billy Barty, who was an activist for little people. I don't know if he was a dwarf or whatever specific affliction he had, but I think he played, I don't know if he played a Munchkin in The Wizard of Oz, but he was a longtime character actor. I talked earlier about UHF. UHF is another movie. It's much better than Body Slam. It ages a bit better. But UHF was a movie Weird Al Yankovic did in the late 80s, and Billy Barty plays his cameraman, Noodles McIntosh. And Billy Barty, I think that F word is probably the most common word that he says.
Really?
He drops it a few times in the movie, and it's I remember thinking back to this. I was reading something about it today. How they would play this movie sometimes on the USA Network for a while, like in the 90s. I think it had a run on USA Network, and they would bleep out, like they would cut the audio when he would say the word. However, what they didn't cut is they cut to the crowd. A lot of his scenes are on Ring Talk, which is a wrestling talk show hosted by Vic Carson, not Johnny Carson, who is Charles Nelson Riley. And the crowd always has like a very there's like nuns and bikers and stuff like that. But on the second time they go back to that show, as they cut to the crowd, there is another little person who was holding up a sign with that word on it. It's like, oh man, this is
he loves it.
Wild movie.
Maybe like, in the 80s, little people loved that word. Maybe it was their favorite word.
Little people were very homophobic at this point.
Yeah. They're like, someone's getting it. Shit runs downhill when it comes to this world. I'm gonna tell you right now too. If I would have watched Body Slam before we named this podcast, there's a good chance we would have named it after that talk show.
Ring Talk.
Welcome to Ring Talk. I'm kind of glad we didn't because I like Tornado Tag. I'm into this Tornado Tag bit. Yeah.
And I think other than that, some of the Ring Talk bits are fun because Charles Nelson Riley is so over the top, and Albano's over the top, and Billy Barty is great. Billy Barty and Charles Nelson Riley actually do the announcing for the main match at the end, and Charles Nelson Riley just keeps cutting off Billy Barty, so he knocks him out with his cane.
You cut me off one more time, buddy. I'm gonna knock you out.
I'm gonna deck you.
I'm gonna deck you.
So the guy that actually replaces Vic Carson, the announcer that replaces him and is the main announcer for the end, is Chick Hearn. Chick Hearn was a legendary announcer. He was the voice of the Los Angeles Lakers for 40 years or more. And he is actually the guy who invented the term slam dunk.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Any other negatives for you?
I think that there are certain subplots that just didn't connect with me. The whole political campaign didn't really connect with me.
Yeah, that was a wild one. It's just kind of like, he owed more people money, and that was just another group that he owed.
Yeah. And it was
actually, to go back to the positive, sorry to cut you off. I did like how they kept fucking with his car, and then at the end, he's like, "Don't you dare touch that!" It's Lou Albano's car. Like, don't you dare touch this car.
Like, I'm sorry, who? Lou Morano, sorry.
Lou Morano's car. But
I don't know who this Lou Albano is.
Yeah, that was a good plot when they finally like he tricks him into smashing that car.
Yeah, that was a good bow to put on the whole thing. And I always thought, and obviously this had no shot of happening, but if there was a Body Slam 2, maybe the Wild Samoans, to get even with Smilac, get in the wrestling, and they're the team that Rick and Tonga Tom have to face off against. I do think that plot, it was to keep the owing money thing, and it was really just to set up what we haven't really talked about. The one point of the plot we didn't really talk about so far. It was setting up the love interest for Smilac, which was Candace, who's played by Tanya Roberts, who unfortunately did pass away a few years ago. She was on Charlie's Angels, and nowadays Tanya Roberts is probably best known for playing Donna's mom on that 70s show.
Yeah. So overall impressions, has it changed from the beginning of your watch to watching it?
Of course. Like I thought it was great when I was a kid. Now I can fully understand that this is not a good movie in any way, shape, or form. But I still will throw it on, maybe every year or two.
It was bad, but I will say, for the sake of it being a pro wrestling thing, I'm in your same boat. Like, if someone's like, I want to watch a movie that's based in wrestling, I'm like, you got to check out Body Slam. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have a lot when it comes to this industry that we can hang our hat on outside of the industry. So when we get those moments, it's special. And Body Slam fits that thing. Same with No Holds Bar or some of these other movies we're going to review. You know what I mean? Like, when we have an opportunity to get our own sneakers and toys that we can support and t-shirts, you got to go hard, because it's not something that was that's always voted to us.
And it seems like it's becoming a little more frequent now, because you had the Iron Claw, obviously, the Wrestlers. I still think the Wrestlers the gold standard for wrestling movies. It's far and away the best one. But we just recently
had next. Do we do that next?
The Wrestler?
Do we do the Wrestler next?
We could. Is it streaming anywhere? I haven't seen the Wrestler since it came out.
I mean, if we have to buy it, I don't mind paying a couple bucks for it. We could look it up. I think it was on Netflix.
I think I may know somebody can hook me up with a copy.
Yeah, he might have a couple. He might even sign it for you. Could charge you. He might upcharge you.
So I'm looking it up here. It's got to be on something. Oh no, maybe not. YouTube. No, it's not on like any streaming services. But no, The Wrestler is an excellent movie.
Baby.
The Wrestler is the best wrestling movie, and Iron Claw is probably second. I know that there's a movie coming out on Netflix, but I don't know when. It's just in that worth the wait thing on Netflix. There's a movie that's going to probably be somewhat interesting about Dump Matsumoto, who was one of the first great villains of Japanese women's wrestling in the 80s. She was an incredible villain. And I wish I knew. I'm going to look it up because it's going to bother me if I don't know, kind of get my head around what the what the movie
Well,
is
while you're
called.
looking that up, our next thing here is scale from 1 to 5. I'll while Brian's looking it up here, BP's looking it up. I'm gonna say for this movie, for my scale of 1 to 5, 3 is average, right? 2 is still a good movie. 3 is like above average. 4 is I protect the 4 at all costs. Like I don't give 4s to everybody, and I definitely don't give 5s unless it's an absolute masterpiece. It's a hard thing. 4 is almost impossible. You should be shocked if I give it a 4. But this one here, I'm gonna go 2.5.
I mean, as a movie, it's a 1 or a 2, but
As a movie, it's 1 or 2, but it has Piper.
When you throw in the sentimentality and stuff, I'll give it a solid 3.
You throw a 5, you throw a Piper, you throw a Wild Samoans, you throw a Tonga Kid in there, it bumps up to a 2.5 for me.
And I just looked it up. It's not a movie; it's a series. It's going to be a
whole
series, and it's called Queen of Villains.
Got you.
And I believe it's coming out.
I mean, like
September, October.
The Dark Side of the Rings and the Tales of the Territory are telling stories outside of the wrestling business that people are like, what? Yeah, and it's just like I think it's sparking the interest of Hollywood more. Of like, man, we have all these stories that we've rewatched so many times, and this wrestling industry has some fucked up stories.
Oh, it does. It does.
You know what I mean?
Heels is another. I mean, Heels is fictionalized, but that is going to be coming to Netflix soon. And if I know they canceled it at Stars, but if it gets a good run on Netflix, they might
revamp it. They gave it a Netflix have breathed life into a lot of shows again. Like I think they were the ones who gave that 90s show a chance. I think they were the ones who gave a what was it, Arrested Development another shot.
Yeah, they did bring it back. They brought back a personal favorite of mine that's going on right now, The Mole. The new season
Mole. You actually got me in the new season drop.
It's 8 of the 10 episodes are out now.
Oh, I'll wait till it's done and I'll just binge it.
The last 2 episodes are coming out on Friday.
Okay. You got me into The Mole. I liked the last season. I thought it was really good.
That is one of my favorite shows.
That's your guilty pleasure reality TV show.
My guilty. I actually Survivor too. I'm a Survivor guy, but Survivor and The Mole are my guilty pleasure reality shows.
You know which one I really like on Netflix? It was based on the show, but they did a real version of it. Squid Game was really good.
Yeah. Who was in that? Leva Bates. Leva Bates was in that.
Yeah, that was good. The Squid Game, like actual contestant show, was good, and I really liked. Was it The Circle, where they put everybody in different apartment rooms and they can only talk to each other via the screen?
Yeah, it's like the social media reality show.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, what was your overall takeaway of the movie?
Overall, it's just it takes me back to a time and place. It takes me back to a certain era of wrestling that is, I mean, it's almost 40 years old now, this era of wrestling. So it's largely forgotten about, especially beyond Hulk Hogan. But Roddy Piper was just as much a part of that as anybody. It's so funny because he was the villain of the whole rock and wrestling thing. And he's the hero here. Albano started as the villain, became the hero in the rock and wrestling thing, but he's the firm bad guy here.
You know, I've never seen the rock and wrestling cartoon.
Oh, I think I've seen a few episodes of it. It's, you know who does the voice of Hogan, right?
Hogan's not his own voice?
No, nobody is.
What?
No, they had actors do their voices. Hulk Hogan, I think, recorded some like live action stuff for it. But the voice of Hulk Hogan is Brad Garrett, who was Raymond's brother in Everybody Loves Raymond.
No, does he sound like that? Hey, everybody.
No, yeah, he sounds like himself. He's not doing a Hulk Hogan impression.
What?
So I mean, Everybody Loves Raymond is old now, so I guess some people might know him more as the guy from the Jimmy John's commercials. Jimmy John's. Yeah. So he was the voice of Hulk Hogan.
Is Rock and Wrestling?
It was Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling.
Hulk Hogan's Wrestling. Is it like on DVD?
I don't know.
I doubt it.
That I don't know.
All right, listen. If anyone knows links, drop them in my DMs. Where I can get it, because I need to go back and rewatch that cartoon.
I wonder if they have episodes on YouTube.
They might. YouTube. Everyone has everything on YouTube.
Yeah.
What was the last thing here? Oh, fun facts, trivia, stuff like that you may know about the movie.
We've talked a lot about them, the whole like controversy behind it, and some of the people in there. It's really odd, like how many of these people wound up going on to do other things. Like one of them we didn't even bring up was Dennis Fimple, who he's like this movie. One of the things we'll jump back a little bit. One of the things I really do like about this movie is they just have these little one-off characters who are very, they're not like super deep or anything like that, but they are very just almost like SNL skit people. Like
Yeah.
just and one of them is the guy who owns the arena where they start doing rock and wrestling. Elmo is his name.
Elmo.
He runs the arena, and the actor who plays him is Dennis Fimple, which is he looks like a Dennis Fimple, and he played the grandfather in the movie House of a Thousand Corpses.
Holy shit! Yeah,
he did.
Good
So that's one of the kickers in the movie is that. So eventually, because the captain has injured, there's a scene in the middle of the movie where the captain and the cannibals injure Tom and injure Rick Roberts and injure Harry, and they blacklist them from all the arenas, all the big arenas. So they literally,
which never happens. No one in the local scene will blacklist somebody so they can't work anywhere else. That's not a real wrestling thing.
Well, it's funny because when that happens, I'm like, oh, I thought that Smilac was supposed to be based on McMahon, not Albano, or excuse me, Morano. So they buy an RV and they start touring these little arenas. And it's one night you'll get rock and roll with Kick, or at that point it's Kicks.
Yeah,
it's Kicks. And then at the
Kicks
other point, and then the next night you'll get pro wrestling. But then what happens is they find out that they're only booked for one night at this arena, and they get the brilliant idea of why don't we do a rock and roll show and pro wrestling at the same time.
Well, that's going to be happening very soon at High Tension Wrestling. You can come down to WrestleWave, where it's a no-ring pro wrestling stage show. I'm actually kind of see how it plays out.
I saw it happen one time where this was an old show that there was an old wrestling website. It was one of the first big wrestling websites in the late 90s, Scoops Wrestling, or Scoops Central it was back then. And they did a thing at the ECW arena in like 1999 called Break the Barrier, which was something where they basically got like a dozen different indie feds together to do a show, and they did a convention beforehand. And they had a band play before the show, and it was one of those like really screamy metal bands. Like you couldn't understand what they were singing. They're just, and after the crowd just was having none of it. They were there to see wrestling. They were there to see a metal show. And after like the second or third thing, like just somebody in the crowd just yells, "Cut the fucking music!" And the band just walked off. The band walked off. And
really? Well, we've seen live band while a wrestling match is going on.
Have we?
Avery Goods, Phil, you were 13, you were 13 Mexican lagers deep that were 19% each. But during
that's right,
Ultramanus Brawl, Ultramanus' band played.
That's right.
While they all brawled in the ring.
Very similar style of music too. Very similar style of music.
But yeah, that'll pretty much wrap it up for Body Slam. We'll plug some stuff here, but also one more thing I wanted to get off that happened at Money in the Bank that I thought was pretty funny. How about Drew cashing in?
Yeah,
to immediately fail his cash in. CM Punk costing him it again. People legit think Drew's quitting, and it's like I see the comments online like WWE is attaching themselves to the fans who are still kind of buying into kayfabe.
Yeah, that's interesting. Obviously, it's an interesting way to do it because it feels like Drew should have a run at some point, but maybe he has to kind of conquer Punk first and then go on his run. But it's also interesting because this locks in now. It feels to me at least like it's more likely than not that at SummerSlam Gunther's winning that title.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's weird because usually you do this to a baby face. Usually the baby face, because there's that whole thing of the money's in the chase. Like you got to chase the title. And it's really weird to have a heel chasing the title like that.
But they also like, they're kind of making Punk a little bit of the heel here. Like, I do think the audience is kind of split.
And that's where I think and maybe as soon as SummerSlam, because it seems, I think the Punk will be good by then. It seems like at some point in this feud there could be a double turn which I'm fine with because Punk is a phenomenal heel.
Yeah.
And Drew has been phenomenal as a heel too, but you can flip him very easily.
I think he's so much easier to put over as a babyface, though.
But it does feel like there's a double turn in the card somewhere along the way.
Do you think we get a main event triple threat at Mania where it's Punk, Drew, and Seth Rollins, or do you think it's still going to be Seth versus Punk at Mania?
I think Seth and Punk might be the long game, and that I would not dilute. It's been their best feud this year. Their best feud this year, especially post WrestleMania by far, or not even post WrestleMania because WrestleMania was part of it. Their best feud this year by far has been Punk and Drew McIntyre, and I wouldn't add Seth Rollins to it because I think adding Seth Rollins to it dilutes it. If I think just doing three ways dilutes a lot of things. I
agree. Totally agree. And then Matt, what's his name? Forgot to kick out during the match. Did you see that?
No. What?
So Damian Priest takes a Falcon Arrow, and it's 1, 2, and he never kicks out, and the referee just stops the count.
No!
And everyone's like, "What the hell?" And even Seth's like, "What?" And then Drew's music hits to come cash in, but people are thinking that should have probably been a 3.
Yeah, they always say the ref should call it as a shoot, and if you don't kick out, that's on you.
He didn't. He definitely fumbled.
But I think in WWE they kind of don't really do it that way.
Yeah, because even it was Chris Van Fleet even asked Triple H about it at the press conference. He's like, "It's going to be a very interesting conversation I'm going to have with that referee to see why it wasn't counted."
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of times the referee will take the heat on that, even if it was the wrestler that may have messed something up.
Yeah, because Drew, Damian doesn't even lift a shoulder. He just stayed still. That's almost like he was rocked and forgot. Like it was interesting. He came through and he wrestled back after, but it looked sketchy.
Yeah, it could have been a miscommunication.
Yeah. Anything you want to plug coming up?
Yes. So next Saturday, the 13th, PPW is back. It is Sons of the Patriots. We have a lot of really fun stuff going on. Adina Steele and Sammy Chaos in a lumberjack match. I think that's going to be one I'm really looking forward to. It's something. And the one thing I am super proud of with this is one of the things kind of behind the curtain that I kind of made a mission there is to really make sure we're putting a bigger spotlight on the women's division and making sure that's not an afterthought, because there were times where it kind of was. And
we've PPW had some really strong women's champions for a very long time.
Yeah.
Dina was a great women's champion. Christina Marie, Mercedes Martinez was a great champion for a while there. We had some really good women's. Danny Moe was a great women's champion, but Sammy Chaos is something so different.
Yes.
And she's very entertaining. Like she's supposed to be the heel that just kills everybody, but it's also like we like the fact that she kills everybody.
Yeah, there's a certain aura to Sammy that has been
she's amazing.
It's been very special, and I'm really looking forward to this because it's been a great run with and who knows what happens, but
longest reigning of all time possibly.
Yeah, there was that whole pandemic where I think people were champions for like 3 years. But no, what she has been like, the rise of Sammy Cass has been one of the most fun things to kind of see unfold as time has gone on, and then we have three women's matches on this show, which I'm so proud of. We have Danny Moe is going to be in action against Amara Void, who is an up and comer from the Maryland area. And then we have Harleen Lopez, Journey Burke, Esquire. Got to always run the Esquire. And Nat Castle. Nat Castle is one of the newest people coming out of the Creative Pro School. So that's going to be very fun. Yeah, really looking forward to that. That's going to be great. But yeah, no, and then I also get a chance to come out of my trivia retirement on Thursday. I'm going to be doing a wrestling music trivia, Pilgrim Brewing. That's going to be a lot of fun. So a fun week coming up.
This Thursday, I'm interviewing Sonny. I won't be able to watch you win. I won't be able to feed you beers while you win.
I have people trying to sneak onto my team at this point.
Yeah. What time does it start?
I believe 7 o'clock.
Yeah, it's about the same time I started the podcast. Yeah, I won't be at PPW, unfortunately. I will be I'll be partying it up with the biggest content creator of all time in our area. No big deal. You know, I'm kind of in the exclusive club now. No, I'll be hanging out with Dante, who I will be on the podcast Monday. Get to go do some cool stuff there. I missed, you know, for a long time. I didn't go to funerals. I didn't go to weddings.
Right.
I didn't go to like really important things for a very long time because I went to wrestling shows. And I'm just, if something comes up and friends invite me, there's been too many times where I've had too many people where I've turned them down for a hangout because I put wrestling first.
Right.
And this is no shade to the wrestling scene, but because when I was down and out and had no car, the wrestling scene didn't really check on me. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people were just like, he'll come back if he comes back. Like, so it's just, I'm at the point now where it's like, oh, cool people invite me to do things. I'll see you next show wrestling. There's always next month. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The 20th, I will be at I'll plug it a little bit here, but the next one we'll probably talk about it again on the next show. But I'll be at New Era Pro Wrestling. We have a show coming up on the 20th. You can get your tickets now, and I believe the same day as AXW, correct?
Yes, AXW. I will be there, and no party, but that'll also be my birthday.
There you go. And also on the 19th, if you would like to tag along, BP, you're more than welcome to.
I am Philly. Off. Yeah, I am
on
off,
the 19th, and we're gonna go to Wrestle Pit. So we're gonna see some fun stuff there.
I may make that trip with you. I am off work that day.
Okay, cool. Would love to have you. Oh, one other thing. This is not a beg or a plead, but if anybody wants to be cool and sign up for a membership or a donation or go buy a t-shirt, remember I told you I was selling my camera?
Yeah.
And here's a fun little story. So I was selling my camera. Somebody on Facebook from New Jersey was like, I'll buy it off you. And they sent me, you know, they said send a request on Facebook on PayPal. So I sent the request, and I get an email saying, "Hey, from PayPal, as soon as we get the tracking number, we will then release the funds to you." So I do that. I go to UPS in Hazleton. I drive all the way up to Hazleton. I send out this thing. I pay way too much money to ship it because it was $100. It was like a 1 to 2 day delivery.
Right.
So then I paid the insurance because I'm like, if something breaks and that camera's expensive, I'm going to feel like shit, and then I'm going to be out of camera, and that person's not going to be able to get the things. I'm thinking of them, so I paid all the insurance, the whole 9, which is probably smart because then they had to sign for it. But day goes by, another day goes by, and I'm not getting confirmation on my email. So I call PayPal, and they're like, oh, that's not real. That's not us. That's a scam. You're getting scammed. There's no money coming to your account. So I call UPS, and I had to cancel the shipment. So I have to go back to Hazleton and pay to have my package back to me, but they're not getting it, which is the good thing. So I still have the camera. If anybody wants to buy a camera, it's available, but it is going to delay a lot of my content that I had planned for next month because the cameras I have, I mean, I can do it with what I have, but I want my content to look a certain way. I'm very picky. So I have to save up now for the camera. So that's going to be really shitty. That bums me out a lot because I was really excited, but that was my excitement for the weekend. I fucking got scammed on a goddamn PayPal scheme.
My excitement was commentating a hot dog eating contest.
Oh, I heard you actually recorded commentary for it?
We didn't. It wasn't filmed other than, you know, being streamed live on the Facebook page. But yeah, we actually more for the bar. Yeah, I did commentary for the live audience.
I love that.
And it was fun. It was fun commentating a hot dog eating contest.
Was it as cool as a 50-50 with Drunk Adina Steele?
Yeah.
They
were comparably. I almost got to see Tony Deppen throw up. That was fun, but he held it down.
That is true. I actually met Lily when I watched her win a hot dog eating contest. That's a true ass story.
She probably could have won this one. I think the winner ate 7 in 15 minutes.
7. Oh, she would have dominated, dude. Yeah. She was against dudes our size and housed them. I was like, this chick, she can eat a hot dog. Keep that in mind. No, but that's all we got for Tornado Tag for tonight for you guys. Thank you so much. Come out and see us in some shows. You can see BP at PPW. You can see us both next Friday at Wrestle Pit. You can see BP at AXW. Thought the door was opening. Following Saturday, and then you can see me at New Era Pro Wrestling summer Meltdown. And I think that's all of my bookings.
And then
Fightertainment on the 25th.
25th, and then Brewfest on the 27th.
I don't have that written down, but I have nothing on that date. So thank you for that. Remind me, 27th Brewfest, 27th.
It is going to be so weird to be at Brewfest and not drink. That is going to be very.
Oh, we're drinking. We didn't drink last time, but if we're getting a table, and I'm bringing whatever we need for commentary. We're gonna have a couple beers. We'll have a runner. I'm bringing a runner with us.
All right.
I'm like, get a wristband on her. She's commentary runner.
And see a lot of fun stuff. It's going to be a fun month.
Yeah. So if you go get your tickets for Brewfest now, so you can come see some pro wrestling and drink some beers and see me and Brian get drunk and commentate wrestling matches.
And maybe 50-50s.
And 50-50. We'll commentate anything. You need your wedding commentated. Yeah. You need your funeral commentated.
Yeah.
If you need what's bar mitzvahs, right? That's a thing.
This is a unique business proposition. We'll commentate anything for you.
Yeah. I always said we should. You can go to special websites, the corn ones. I'm going to censor myself.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine commentating a corn scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be.
Oh, that's a pile driver. I'm telling you, we have a market. We could.
The atomic drop is something completely different there.
Yeah, we should bring back Mystery Science Theater.
That's an option.
Just
it's been brought back 60 times already, so sure, what's another one?
But we're special to 6 people watching here, but well, that'll do it. We're getting out of here. We'll see you guys on the next one. Like I said, we'll be again live tomorrow. Broad to Chucky review with Dante James, the greatest content creator on the planet. Make sure you go check them out. They're so fucking funny, but I cannot wait to watch this. I'm probably going to get out of here right now and watch it myself, so I'm ready for tomorrow. So we'll see you guys next time. Here's some music by the Converse Kid. We're out of here.